Welcome to the Greenway Outdoors Podcast, your trusted source for outdoor information and entertainment. The Greenway Outdoors is also an internationally syndicated TV show and conservation advocate aimed at bringing millennials and Generation Z into the outdoors. Welcome to the Greenway Outdoors. The Greenway Outdoors Podcast is brought to you by Ram Trucks, built to serve. Motor Trend's Truck of the Year for the third year in a row. Bass Pro Shop and Cabela's. Your adventure starts here. And by Tracker Boats. Fish the best.
Hello and welcome to episode 68 of the Greenway Outdoors Podcast. My name's Kyle Green.
I'm AJ.
I'm Jeff.
I'm Ryan.
What's up, guys?
You're not going to let that go. You're going to do your full name every episode.
It's called branding. You should look it up.
We're supposed to maintain viewers, not
What's your brand?
slowly.
What's your brand with your wrinkly shirts and your some
Just
hair
Jeff.
left in you?
It doesn't require extra branding. We're just going with our names.
Jump in, Ryan. Put him down.
You suck.
Oh.
Got him. Welcome to the Greenway Outdoors Podcast, where we talk about everything outdoors, current events, and just really cool things for millennials and Generation Z. Although a lot of our viewership tends to skew older, I like to think it's because of my sophisticated, worldly experience.
Cultural.
Speaking of worldly, AJ and I were looking at this article today, and it showed a map of the United States, and it said, comment how many states you've been to. What do you think our number is? Because your number is probably very close to mine. Out of 50.
I would say probably I've got to be low 30s.
32.
Nice.
32 was my number.
Well done.
Yeah.
Right.
What do you
Nice.
think yours is, AJ?
Yeah, I don't know if
You're
exact count.
just working here. You're
I'll
at
say
25.
29.
Just
Yeah.
working here. You're at 25 plus.
Okay, then I
Yeah.
might be at high 30s then.
Yeah.
I fortunately was able to travel a lot as a kid, just like our family doing trips and whatnot, and we have family all over the country.
Must be
nice.
Poor. I did that actually a few weeks ago. I tried adding it all up. I think I'm sitting somewhere around 40.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Nice.
And he's 12. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
Right.
The cool thing is we've hit the hardest states.
Yeah, that is true. Alaska and Hawaii we hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the next hardest is Rhode Island.
Yep.
Rhode Island. Yeah, I don't have any interest.
What's there?
Vermont.
We're going to Maine.
It's like,
That's a cool-
it's
that's
like
another hard
20
one.
20 square miles, Rhode Island.
Maine we go to in September. We're going to do a black bear hunt, which I'm really looking forward to.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, that should be cool. Well, Ryan, fire away, I guess. Get it?
Going. Oh, yeah.
Ick.
So we had covered it a while. I think 2 years ago. The wildfires going on in Australia and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what it's like now. All I know is that everyone's on lockdown. You're not allowed to step outside of your house.
That's what happens when you give up your Second Amendment. The all the people in Australia turned over the guns over the last 15 years or whatever it's been. They slowly did. They gave optional gun buyback programs. That's where it always starts. Hitler did that too, actually. But they did buyback programs, and then a lot of people turned in their guns, and then it slowly got more strict, and then it was give us your guns, you're going to prison. So Australia, they've given over all their firearms, and now because of that, they can't have opinions anymore. So if you go outside right now, when they're on their lockdowns because of COVID, and they don't have that many cases, which is even weirder. If they go outside because of COVID, then they have the helicopters going over them and saying, get back in your house right now. It's crazy over there.
Yeah.
I think it's specific to Sydney, but
Yeah.
yeah, who cares?
Yeah.
Right.
I'm surprised that they're like, because New Zealand controlled it really well, because like they're an island. So you just don't let people in, and then you're
Well,
good.
they're the biggest island, though. And once it's there, it spreads.
Yeah.
Hawaii did pretty good.
They were psychos about it too, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so all the wildfires going on and everything.
Anyhow,
So unrelated.
7 topics removed.
Yeah. There's this interesting group of birds in Australia
Can't wait to hear about them.
that have learned how to use fire to their advantage. There's not a lot of research behind, or like
Charizard.
Yeah.
I'm saying it. Charmeleon.
There's not a lot of proven research behind this. It's kind of like word of mouth. Like, oh, I've seen this happen. I've seen that happen, because word's just finally getting out that this is a thing, and this is probably why fires get so bad in Australia. Of the 7 it's like 750,000 square miles of tropical savanna. 18% of it gets burned every single year. So every single year, because of natural causes.
So every 5 years, every section gets burned, or certain sections burn more often.
It could be the same section. It could be just whenever that grass grows back. 18% of that is going to be affected no matter what. So the Aborigines actually brought this to modern civilization's attention. They're like, yeah, we've seen this. We've known this for years, and they're called firehawks or Arson Raptors.
Charizard.
And the birds
Sounds
consist
much
of
cooler.
the black kite, whistling kite, and brown falcon. And what they'll do is when they see a fire, how they originally learned this, we don't know. But when they see a fire, they'll go to it, they'll pick up a smoldering stick or a smoldering piece of grass or something and take it somewhere else and drop it and intentionally start a fire. And
Little pyros.
yeah. And then
And as they're flying away, they go.
yeah,
What jerks, though.
it's basically like that. They've learned how to use it to their advantage, because what happens is once that fire starts to spread, every insect, every reptile, every
shrew, every mole.
Yeah.
Every bowl.
everything tries to get out of the way. They're all
Sure.
trying
Also,
to
that's how they hunt.
they're trying to flee the fire. So it's easy
Wow.
meal. So they'll all gather around the fire once it's started, and then from there it's just devour.
And it's
Hunting season.
partly cooked.
Yeah.
Partly cooked.
Yeah.
What? I mean, you could really trick them with a Roman candle.
Yeah.
They're like, all right, I got a good. Ow!
So it's just that, like I said, it's all through word of mouth. One of the Aboriginal peoples was
It sounds like an old wives' tale, but
well, that's originally where it came from. They thought it was like some sort of myth because there was paintings and artistry on rocks and stories about these birds doing this. And then in modern times, someone who's still like part of the Aborigine culture was like, yeah, we've known this for a long time. I've seen it with my own eyes.
bro, we sell shirts with the picture of the bird on it.
Yeah. He
And
said
that's where the car name came from.
Firebird.
he was explaining that he had personally with his own eyes seen it, a bird go to a fire, pick up the stick, fly a half mile away, and just drop it and start another fire.
We should make shirts with that on it to raise awareness, and it's cool.
They showed some pictures in what I was reading, and
You hunt these things?
I mean they're hot. Oh, you wouldn't be able to hunt them here. I don't know what it's like over there.
They're like, no, don't hunt them. Let them knock out that other 10,000 acres.
Yeah, that's basically
They
what
might
they'll
think
do.
that.
Like
Yeah.
once they're done with that spot, take the stick and move to another spot and start another fire.
That's savage.
Yeah. So a piece
want-
of me wonders why, if maybe that's why the fires got so bad in Australia, because at the time this wasn't really a thing. Like people didn't really know that the birds were doing this. So now biologists are trying to research it, but they don't have any real hard evidence.
They're out there with super soakers, water balloons, doing
Yeah.
whatever they can to take these things out of the sky.
Yeah, so it's just like they're trying to get the word out there that this is a thing, hoping someone will get footage of this happening where the bird comes and gets a stick, leaves, and someone's able to get footage of them dropping it and starting a fire and eating.
So
Imagine
there's no
a bee-
actual footage.
No.
There's footage of them carrying sticks, but
There's footage, but it's blurry and it kind of looks like a guy in a bird suit.
so it's there's some theories behind whether these birds are able to somehow start a fire. I don't think that birds really have the
Yeah,
capability
you wonder
of
at
that.
what level is it where they're like, okay, well, this looks like a good stick. Let's go find a little flame over here. I'm going to take it over here now. Or is it like, hey, and how'd they discover it the first time?
That's
They're
what
like,
I was trying to
"Ow, ow,
research.
ow."
Unfortunately, there's not a lot of information on it. I want to know where did this practice originally come from? Like how did it's because it's like instinct for them. They just know to do it.
They're using tools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Planet of the Apes.
That's
Cuckoo-
what they're
Or in this case, the cuckoo's nest.
Yeah. That's what they're wondering is are they able to figure out how to do this themselves, start a fire? Because you see other birds, they're able to like a raven, an incredibly intelligent bird, is able to figure out puzzles and do a whole bunch of different things and speak.
Yeah.
And-
Some birds will take a stick, break it, make it a certain size, and then use it to poke holes in trees to get bugs.
Right. So that's what they're trying to figure out now. There's just nothing about it. So if you happen to be in Australia and see birds starting fires, record it.
Fire, though? You know what I mean? Like that.
Well,
They got to know
how-
there's a timeline on how far you can fly with it.
Yep.
There's.
You get burnt once, and they're like, "Oh, don't do that again." You know.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You know.
Well, think about like, I thought about in the wild, you have to start fire with friction because they're not going to be able to clunk two rocks together probably, and the odds of them getting the right rock is not likely. But a woodpecker, think about how fast their head moves back and forth repeatedly, just bonking into a tree. If a bird was able to do that,
Dead tree.
maybe they could start a fire.
You never know.
I don't know.
What do you think, Jeff? You buying it?
I don't think that a bird would, through its own force, stumble upon fire. Now, if you said that like there's already a fire going and they just grab them, or like lightning or something, and that makes a fire, then okay.
That's what it is now. That's the theory now.
Yeah,
But they're taking it a step further and saying, well, how intelligent are these animals?
yeah,
They're intelligent enough to know that gets them food.
yeah. Like I guess maybe I could see them like rubbing their beak up against something real fast, but like that would hurt them.
Well,
They
I
ain't got thumbs.
the
so
way
they're
I'm
not rubbing
envisioning
two
it
sticks together.
is they just find a good area to rub two sticks together. They just
I-
hold it and shake
I
their
picture
head.
it completely. How big are these birds?
They're hawks, so I would imagine.
Okay, so they're decent sized birds.
Yeah.
I picture a stick already on fire that's just
That's
picked
what I'm-
up.
That's
Same.
what because I saw some footage and it was just carrying a stick, but that's all the footage they had of it, and it was just a smoldering stick with an ember on the end.
And but all birds carry sticks, right? For the most part.
Mm.
Obviously, hummingbirds don't and stuff, but they make nests. So all birds of some sort carry stick-like materials or natural materials or build that they use their beak to build things.
Yeah.
Almost all, obviously not turkeys and stuff like that, but there's certain
Most of them.
a lot of birds do. So you figure it's obviously not rare or weird that they would pick up a stick. You could also see them picking up a stick on accident that maybe had an ember or something that was like, the fire was almost out and it just had a little red coal type thing at the end of it or something, and picked it up, and he's like, it got to him, so he dropped it. And then, like, that's where he lives. So then he was hunting, and then he's like, whoa.
But it's three different species who, when they see fire, they go to it, and like that's what they do. They just go to the fire, pick up a stick, and bring it somewhere
And that's
else.
confirmed.
Her bird gang.
Confirmed by word of mouth and people by people seeing it. There's no like hard like video footage of someone's been like, here's the footage of the whole thing happening. Everyone's just been like, I've seen it happen.
Well, even that makes sense. So when you're out fishing and you see a group of seagulls or birds or whatever, and they're all swarming over a specific area, and you're like, oh, go over there, that's where the bait will be. And you go there, and sure enough, there's a bunch of fish there. It amazed me. We moved into our new studio here in Fenton, Michigan, and in the front yard there, they were doing work on the front yard or whatever with the sign. And the very first day they came out and did construction work to replant the grass out there because it got all jacked up, they planted the grass, and within 15 minutes, we had 10,000
Swarms.
birds on our
Yeah.
lawn. And I was amazed, but I'm like, how? Were they just waiting? You know what I mean? Like
they
just
knew it was coming.
yeah, like it's the weirdest thing that they were all just right there and ready to go. So it's definitely not a stretch to, and those are dumb little birds. Hawk is much more intelligent, so it's not crazy to think of a hawk going there to eat thing. Oh, there's the fire. That means they're all going to be running out of there. That is zero amazement to me. Them carrying a stick, zero amazement to me. Them carrying a stick in order to set a fire, in order to grab things, that's a bigger stretch.
Yeah.
But there's like, you could see why they're capable, and you could see how those chain of events might take place. But to me, it wouldn't be like all the birds would know. It'd be like 7 of them. But
Like more like an
right now-
opportunistic thing, not a.
not species. I mean specific animals.
Well, this has just been a known thing for a while with the native people. They
Yeah.
just know that the birds do that. So if there's a fire, expect another one to start. Is they understand it? Like that's what I understand from what I read, and it's not like this one bird figured it out. It's like the species just knows that's how it goes. Like that's how you get your easy meal.
They're worried about climate change down there. Turns out it's just a bunch of jerk birds.
Yeah.
It's true.
This actually got me thinking of another story I saw online. The Department of Natural Resources in Utah was dropping fish. Fish stocking, a lot of times they'll do it with planes. So they have a lot of remote lakes and stuff that don't necessarily have fish in them, or not many fish. So in order to get fish to those remote lakes and ponds and stuff like that, normally they'll do an airplane drop. And there's like people concerned about it because they're like, oh, that could hurt the fish. So the Department of Natural Resources kind of like debunked that theory.
Little parachutes.
Yeah, so like these, yeah, exactly. Cutest things you ever saw. And they're biodegradable and turn into
Like little
plankton.
Little table napkins.
Yeah, that's right. So the so basically what happens is they can't get to these lakes unless they use like dirt bikes or something like that, because there's no roads or anything where they can get trucks back there, and it'd be really hard and rocky on the fish and just in those trucks for that long. So what they do is they have these planes that can fill up with hundreds of gallons of water, and then they add the fish in there, and then they'll fly to these remote lakes. They'll fly as low as they can, open up the chute, and all the water and the fish fall together. And a lot of people were a little bit worried about it, and they're like, doesn't hurt them. The survival rate's really high. And the fish are 1 to 3 inches, so they're smaller, so they have a lot less mass. Now, that got me thinking, like, obviously, well, not obviously. Actually, some people might not realize this if they forgot their high school education, little lessons that they learned from Mrs. Stahl, shout out. But basically what they would do is the fall rate of the fish would be the same as like a human being. So if a 200-pound human or a fish, they're going to fall at exactly the same rate. Regardless, it's like 9.8 meters a second. So then it obviously that's the free fall rate. So things fall at the same time, unless there's air resistance. So like a feather wouldn't fall at the same rate because there'd be air resistance. But two objects that even with different masses will fall at exactly the same rate. So, but they're just so small, so they don't have a lot of mass when they hit the water. And they said that if they dropped them straight up, they might get hurt. Some of them might get hurt, but because they drop them with water, it won't hurt them as bad. And I had trouble figuring that out, though.
Yeah, well, because if you, like, say you jump out of a plane or you just jump off somewhere high into water, if it's more than, I think, like 80 feet up, when you hit that water, it's like hitting
concrete.
a
I've never
cement
understood
wall.
that, how that's the thing.
It is.
Because of the surface tension. But because they're dropping them with the water, I would think the water, because no fish is like directly on the bottom, so as they're dropping them, the water hits the water first. So that kind of disperses a lot of the surface tension, allows them to, they're probably still jarred quite a bit, but.
So you see like the Red Bull competitions where you have the people diving off the huge cliffs. Hey?
Flugen something.
I don't know.
Was
What
it
are
your
you talking
safe word? What do you want?
No,
That's what I thought it was
the
too.
name of the Red Bull thing. It's a
I don't know.
Flugen, it's like the German
German.
word or something.
about? Anyone who jumps from a high is diving from a super high, from a high, whatever.
Sure.
What they'll always have is water being dumped into where you're landing.
Really?
Oh, really?
I didn't know that.
That's like a thing then.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's to break the surface tension, so you're not just hitting that flat surface. So a lot of times when you see these competitions, either they're dumping water, a constant stream of water in, or it's next to a waterfall, because that's just it's displacing the water,
moving,
so
yeah.
you can flow through it easier. Because if it's just stagnant and flat like a mirror, it's going to be the same as hitting concrete.
This is what I don't get though. But nothing's stopping you. You're still going into the water.
Correct.
It's
But
stopping you fast enough that it's almost the same as if a cement wall was stopping you, as opposed to.
I actually
that's
have
nutty.
I actually have real life experience of this. I jumped off a 93-foot cliff in Jamaica. Yep, 93
was
foot.
it near a waterfall?
No, it
Was
was
it in the
a bay.
ocean?
It was a Rick's Cafe.
Did you do
Jamaica.
Did you do the Vin Diesel thing where you got a shotgun with you, and as you're coming down, you shoot the water, and then that?
Is that a thing too?
It's breaking the surface
It was
tension.
in a movie, so it has to.
But the issue with that is, I guess not, because that's
Well,
if you're shooting the other way.
Here's what I
Never
will
mind.
tell you though. When I did it, I was so worried about my gonads and my butthole because they said that like you can get like an enema basically.
If you don't
Yeah.
clench.
And I had already gone twice that day, so I didn't need to be cleaned
Cleared
out. But so they're like, make sure you cover your nuts and your butt. And it was funny because our tour guide that we were with, she's like, I do not want you jumping off that. She goes, nobody on this bus better be jumping off that cliff. She goes, if you do it, do the one for you people. It's 40 foot. And I was like, I want to do the big one, Miss Clara. And she's like, Kyle, you're going to look like your American flag. I was like, what do you mean? She goes, you're already white as snow. And she goes, and you're going to be all black and blue, and they'll be red all over. She goes, I do not want you doing it. So I get up there, and the people there, they're like, the locals are jumping off of this same cliff that I'm going off of, and they're getting paid to do it. And I'm up there like an idiot. But then I had hyped it up so much on the bus that I garnered a crowd watching me. So now I
gotta do it.
When I got up there, I'm like, I do not want to do. I would rather
90 feet is high.
93 feet. I'm like, I do not want to do this.
Right.
I do not. I changed my mind completely. Get all the way up there, and I had made friends with there was a couple there that we met, and they the guy was a firefighter, and he was retired, so he was like 55, and he's like, I'll do it with you. I was like, all right, let's do it. He goes, I'll go first. I was like, good. So we get up there, and the people are like, listen, man. They're like, that's not appropriation. I'm just saying what they said.
Yeah.
They go, listen, man. He goes, you see that and that and that right there? I'm like, what? He goes, kind of where the water comes up. I go,
Those little specks.
I guess. He goes, if you don't clear there, that's rocks. I was like, how hard do you have to? Because I'm having trouble.
All right, I'll buy the insurance.
I'm having trouble lining up the angle of like, because you figure like if you threw like a ball or something off of a tall bridge or something and you did it a certain way, all you'd have to do is push it just a little bit and it would be so far away by the time it landed. So I'm like, do I only have to step off? He goes, you got to get a good jump. But I was nervous because it was like in a big cove type area. So I was like, I'm not going to get to the other side, am I? How bad would that suck? You don't want to get to
make it too far.
Yeah. So he goes, no. He goes, you can't get to the other side. Jump hard. And I was like, all right, well, the firefighter does it. He jumps off, nothing. And he gets down and he's like, I can't even hear him because it's 93 foot down and everyone's cheering and there's music. It's at Rick's Cafe, bars.
Yeah.
The atmosphere is crazy. It's just it's like a nightclub outside. Knowing if I died, people probably cheer. Like it was just crazy. You know what I mean? Like
his name would go up on a wall somewhere.
I know. If I was watching me, I'd probably root against me. You know what I mean? It's like so. So I run and jump off, and I remember like halfway down, I'm like, I gotta be hitting the water soon. I'm like, come on! Like it was like
your adrenaline's probably through the roof.
Yeah, it was a long enough fall. It was the same exact feeling that you get on a roller coaster, except you're not actually safe.
Yep.
You know, because a roller coaster you can pull yourself together and be like, you're fine.
Mm-hmm.
That kid in the front row is doing it. You're fine.
Yep.
But here it's like there's things to remember. So I'm like going and I'm just watching the rocks across from me just go past me, you know, as I'm falling. So it's like because it's a cliff.
And closer. And
closer. No. And I'm just watching them. I'm like, please let this just be over with. Like this is miserable. And then
half a second.
Finally, it felt like an hour though. You know? I had long enough to be like, why is this not over?
You look down, you're like 20 feet down.
No, so then as I started to get close to the water, I remember looking down and knew I was there, and I grabbed my nuts and my covered my butthole with my hand flat, and I hit the water. I forgot to point my toes.
Ooh.
So my feet hit flat. I was already stung by a sea urchin on my foot 2 days prior from chasing this fish. Won the bet though. They bet me I couldn't catch a fish with my bare hands. So there was a bunch of sea anemones. So I would chase these minnows into the sea anemones.
Anemones?
Yeah, anemones.
You sound like Nemo right now.
No. And I would push them. With the current into them, and then they grab them. It would shock them, and then I'd pull them out of there, and I'm like, caught it. So I won the bet, but I kicked a sea urchin doing it. So I was all jacked up anyways, and my feet hurt so bad when I hit that water. I got out, and I had trouble walking. I lifted up the bottom of my feet. I had specks of blood all over the bottom of my feet from like
broken capillaries.
Yeah.
Wow, that's high.
Yeah.
30 feet's the highest I've ever cliff dove.
And that 30 feet feels like an enormous thing.
It really does.
They say, as far as the surface tension thing goes, that when you're landing like a seaplane with the pontoons on it, it's far easier to land a plane on slightly wavy water versus like glassy water. You would think you would want the flattest landing surface,
like a ground, like a runway.
Right, but the issue is when it's glassy like that, what you tend to do is you just skip across it. It's not.
Oh,
it's not
absorb
sucking.
you.
It doesn't absorb you. So you want the waves to break that surface tension so the pontoons will get down into the water. Otherwise, you just skip across it, and then it takes way longer to land.
You see that water skiing when people go, and if they hit like a wave and that's what makes them drop, they'll hit the wave and just you can't see them anymore. But if they're coming on a turn and they lose hold of the rope and then go
You're
across,
gonna see 'em for a minute.
You watch them go,
Yeah.
and like skip like a rock.
Yeah.
You're thinking of tubing, not skiing.
Either way.
No,
You're going
he's
fast
right.
enough.
Yeah. Or it's the same thing as like you see these professional jet skiers who they'll be doing flips and stuff. They're using
I'm on a boat.
They're using their own wave to do the flips and all the tricks and everything. And if they did a flip and landed on flat water, it would be like just landing on the ground. They would just smash their face into it.
I guess I do feel like I understand it. Like imagine you're falling and you're gonna hit the water. Would you rather hit the peak of a wave where it's like a big triangle and you're like breaking a smaller section of water and then it's slowly becoming bigger? But when you hit back smacker flat, that's no good.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes
You gotta
sense.
avoid that.
It's the same reason why a dive doesn't hurt, but a belly smacker does.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That would be a good way to put it. Yeah. Where were you 10 minutes ago with that one? It's perfect.
Another thing that I've heard about, like the surface tension and the way water works and everything is it. Like say on the Titanic, the ship was sinking. When the ship is sinking,
Never forget.
You want to get as far from the boat as possible, as quickly as possible,
Because pull you down.
What ends up happening is that boat will flip and release all that water, and what it's doing is creating a cavity in the water that you'll just fall straight through the bottom of because gravity's still on you. So you'll fall through that bubble, and you'll be, before you know it, 50 feet down
Instantly.
and then you're in the water.
No kidding.
That's true.
Yeah, that is weird. Yeah, that's like I believe in the movie Titanic they were saying like get away from the boat, get away,
Yeah. It sucked to be the person that figured that out and survived and had to go teach everybody else, and that's not possible, dude.
That band kept playing though.
Yeah, they did. God bless them.
While slowly sinking into the water.
Good men.
Womp womp. So while my story doesn't have a cool name like Firehawk or Arsonist,
Arson Raptors.
Raptor.
Come on, dude. Be
I got
respectful.
lightning carp
gang.
over here.
Lightning carp's pretty good.
They're not lightning carp.
For
it's just
real,
a,
lightning carp?
Magic.
Magic carp
it's a grass carp.
eventually becomes Gyarados.
So there is a.
You need a stone though. They don't run their own.
There is a population of grass carp that have invaded the Great Lakes, mostly Lake Erie, and they're getting into.
Are
Lake
those the
St.
real
Clair.
gold ones? Which ones are grass carp?
They're like a greenish. I guess you could call it kind of goldish.
I've
seen
AJ's
different
showing the
pictures.
audience a picture right now.
I think as they grow, their color changes a little bit, like a lot of different fish. But they have been in Lake Erie since the 1980s,
Okay.
and they've seen more of a population boom. So they're trying to better determine how they can, just like the Asian carp, stop them from going into other Great Lakes. So they started in Lake Erie. They're trying to figure out where they're at. The problem is they can't really determine like what are their movements. What are they, like, how do we find them? How do we stop them without, impacting other species? They can't do like a poison. They can't do anything like that. So they're trying to figure out a nice way. So they started, with the help of Michigan State, they started tagging them. They started catching them, and then they would implant, like they'd anesthetize them and then put what looks like a AA battery. And they would implant that in them to track them.
It's,
And then
it's
they
a
would-
grenade.
It's a big
Yeah.
probe.
It blows them up.
And they would use that.
And they swim under those U of M guys' docks.
And they'd use that fish to then track it, see where it goes. And these fish are going like 20 miles a day, or 20 kilometers a day, sorry. They'll disappear for like a week at a time. They have these like receivers that they've put all throughout at least Lake Erie and Lake St. Clair to try to see where they're going. I think there's like 1,000 of them or something like that. And then every time a fish comes by, it pings every 3 minutes or something like that. And if it hits a ping, it goes, okay, there's a fish. And then if they get several, or they've been able to track its movements and see where it's going, it's like, well, this looks like a spot where they would conglomerate. So then they'll go out there and, using those pings, go out and start catching fish there and pull up a whole bunch of grass carp because they know that they're there because that one is there.
That's like the
So
ultimate fish finder.
They use the ping from the tracker that they've put in the fish to find the school.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good luck beating
Literally-
that, Garmin and Lawrence.
How are they catching them if it's in the lake?
I don't know. I know they've had. I saw several pictures where they're using like big nets. So I think they're doing a combination of like
Okay.
net fishing to try to catch a lot of them. I know that there was some hand fishing, but it's obviously less effective. So, but they're doing several different things to try to, figure out where they gather and then go there and catch them.
Right.
Because these things are huge. They're like, they said they're the size of a small child. They grow to 4 foot.
Jeez.
Can be almost up to 5 foot.
Wow.
They're like 50 pounds.
With Scott, we catch some big carp. You know how we catch them though? Like bait and reel, is we'll take canned corn.
Yeah.
And we'll put that on the surface, like where they're at, because it's the same thing. Like they'll school up in certain areas in his lake, and we'll put canned corn on, and then you get a really small hook, gold hook, and you put corn on it to make it look natural, like the other ones. So they're like coming in for the corn, and it just blends in. And they're tough to trick. They're smart. Like
Really?
they are really smart. They're tough to trick. And you'll see 20 of them, and you'll put the line out there, and then you'll ease away from shore and just leave it out there with a bell on. And it's like if you get one, you're doing pretty good. It's like they're tough to just catch with a rod and reel.
Which is nuts because the ones at the zoo will just eat you spit.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's true, too.
An interesting thing about grass carp is golf courses will use them in the ponds. What will happen was the banks get all overgrown with grass, so they'll raise the water level of the pond. The grass carp will come in, eat the grass, they'll lower the level of the water, and then you have a trimmed bank.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll come in
kidding.
eat up the grass.
You're positive this isn't like a story where my dad
No,
messed with you and your dad
I
got
was
you?
waiting for the
Hey,
punchline.
He worked on golf courses, okay? So
Well, I just didn't know if it was like the thing, like my dad always tells me elaborate stories, and then I think they're real. I didn't know if your dad
We
got
thought
you.
the
Well, now
numbers
you
on-
have me doubting.
we thought the numbers on golf balls, the lower the number, the
not
better
proud of
the
this.
ball. For years.
My dad would say that when you bought a box of balls, I hate that he did this to me. I just got into golf. I was like 16. Okay, I didn't know any better. And he's like, you see how they got numbers on them? He goes, the lower the number, the higher the quality of the ball. So they'll when they run them through and stuff, they'll be looking.
Grade them.
They would grade them.
They sell
and
them graded.
Yeah, and they sell them graded, and that's
Oh, I got a box of, and this is, at this point, we're looking at Pokemon cards. We're collecting cool stuff. So we're getting into it. We're like, oh, I got a box with all ones. Yes.
And we would sort through because his mom and my mom worked at the golf course. So we'd go through all the balls that they pull out of the river and that they find on the course and stuff like that. And I'd be like, oh, man, there's a couple ones in here. Dude, he's like, I got a 000. I'm like,
I found a Pro V1, but it's a 4.
just throw it back. Don't bother.
Burn it.
It's barely a
Sounds like they actually do this with cans of tobacco, like dip. Like
Yeah.
You can scratch off the side of it, and it'll have a rating on it to see how the quality of the tobacco. But that's real. The golf ball thing is not.
Right. Well, my dad.
No.
Well, yeah, my dad did that as a prank on us, and it worked.
For how
I
many
love
years?
that.
How long
That sounds
before you
great.
figured it
It
out?
was a couple years, unfortunately,
we
because
told-
no one corrected us, and we were out
told
telling people.
So many.
No, you
we
weren't.
were meeting and greeting and telling people that.
What
we
did
had
they
no
say? They're like, okay, guy.
You're bragging that you got like number
No
one
one
balls.
no one
People are
argued
wa-
us.
We're on the high school golf team, and people are watching us do this and saying nothing. The coach, I'm sure, saw us.
Like,
do it.
I
you
lost faith in
idiots.
people. I lost faith in people from that. I really did.
It was probably entertaining.
Yeah.
Look at them digging through the pond.
I think that they probably, like looking back on it, they probably thought that we were being sarcastic.
Oh,
Either
man.
that or-
idiot.
I wonder how many people think that to this day because we told them. And they're like, oh, I guess that kind of makes sense.
It was like my noodling.
Sure.
It was like the noodling for catfish story with the eggs. It's one of my go-tos for 2 years.
Trust isn't built in a day. It's built over time. The early hours and the late nights. It's built by doing the work and pushing the limits every day. Because the promises we make are the promises we were built to keep.
The Greenway Outdoors is brought to you by Ram Trucks, built to serve. Motor Trend's Truck of the Year, for the 3rd year in a row. And by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. Your adventure starts here. If you'd like to help support the Greenway Outdoors, please like and comment on this podcast and subscribe to all of our channels.
Now, speaking of big old fish, in North Carolina, there was 2 new records set in July for catfish.
Oh.
One for blue catfish, one for channel cats. So a guy caught a 127-pound blue catfish,
Wow.
60-inch long, 40-inch girth. Caught it on rod and reel. Obviously, he didn't noodle it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, noodling, you'd just be dead.
Yeah, I would have swam away with him.
that's true.
Yeah, Jeff, you caught.
1.5 times the size of the one we caught. I can't even imagine that.
Jeff, you caught a 90-plus pound one with
Yeah.
your bare hands.
Yeah, that was rough.
Here's the thing, though. The 40-inch girth, I would not put that past yours.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I would agree with
No,
that.
holding it up here, it was very girthy.
It's not. There's a shot in the TV show, in the episode, on Sportsman Channel. We are at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday nights. So check out the Greenway Outdoors actual TV show there. And if you see this episode, you'll see there's one shot where I say to you that it doesn't even look like a real creature. It looks fake.
Yeah.
And you're holding this big broad. That's what we call it. That's what you call her. You're holding her, and she's like, doing that, but
doing the
she
catfish thing.
looks so fat.
Mm-hmm.
It looks silly.
Yeah. Looks like some kind of animatronic, like I'm puppeting it somehow.
Right. It just looks obnoxious. So this one, I can imagine. It was kind of funny though. I was reading the article and the guy goes, they were asked him, they're like, was reeling it in tough because he did it with rod and reel, and he's like, yeah, that was tough, but not as tough as getting this thing weighed and scaled for official reading, official ratings.
Oh,
Like
I'm sure.
he was having trouble like tracking down like the DNR to put it on an actual scale to get it registered as the winner, as the new state record and stuff. It's tough though. Like, we could have kept your blue cat, the one that we know it was 90 plus pounds, and that would put it in the contention for state record for the largest blue catfish caught by hand.
Mm-hmm.
So Jeff was in that talk, if not winner, but she was full of eggs.
Yeah.
So we had to make a decision. Do we keep her? Because we didn't have a scale. Our scale got ripped in the water by my fish. So the scale didn't work. So the only way to know for sure is if we killed her, took her away, and because there ain't
Seems like a shame because you're not really going to eat a fish that big.
No.
no. You get her mounted,
Yeah.
but she's also full of eggs.
You could also just take a picture and then they could
Nope.
do a recreation.
Can't
of
do
the fish.
that. Can't do that.
Which we found out it is possible, and they can do it well.
Can't do that. But I won't do it. I think you need
Nope,
the real
nope,
fish.
Nope. Yeah.
It's got to be the real fish. But anyhow, to take a fish full of eggs that's probably 60 years old, that did all these, lived this awesome life, and now you're going to kill her just to go get a record. I'm not bashing the guy for doing it. I just feel like letting it go is probably the better option.
Yeah.
So by him waiting for it to be weighed, it probably died.
Oh, for
yeah.
sure. That fish
Okay.
long
Yeah.
gone. Yeah. So and I'm not putting him down for it. So I don't want to be misconstrued that way. And I'm sure he's going to get it mounted and might even eat it. I wouldn't. But
Do you know what the previous record was?
no, I don't. I just know that 127. And I know that I want to say Texas is in exactly the same ballpark, like 117, 120, somewhere in there as well.
Crazy.
So we were right there in the weight category for sure. The length on it was 60 inches. I don't have a reference
Jeez.
point on that, but I feel like yours was at least that. Because my sturgeon was 72.
5 feet.
5 foot. I don't think that thing was 5 foot long.
I feel like if you went like this, it would have been that long. You know what I mean? Like if you went like that, don't you?
probably.
Yeah.
I think it might have been longer.
Yeah. And to take that in.
You look at that one angle where he's got it like this. Or even looking at any of the pictures, it's laying across 3 people. You gonna tell me it wasn't that long?
True.
Look how wide your lap is. You got thick thighs. Gorgeous. But I'm saying, like, I think ours was that big.
Yeah.
I don't know about the weight.
Yeah. And you're definitely not saving it. There's no live well that will hold that fish for you to take it in, weigh it, and then release it later.
It almost didn't fit in their boat. It looked like a shark sitting in the back. It looked so
Right.
silly. Now, the channel catfish is kind of interesting, too. Obviously, channel cats are a much smaller species. So that one was 26 pounds, and it was 38 inches long. So
Boo.
That's the record?
That's impressive.
that's the record. And that record actually been up for the last 50 years.
Wow.
Yeah, 5 decades
You
it
would,
took
you
to
would
beat that.
Sometimes I
You
wonder.
noodle a channel or what?
Nope, ain't never done that in my life. I don't even know that people noodle channels. I'm sure they do.
I bet North Carolina's a
yellow
tough
cat.
place to noodle because they got alligators.
Yeah.
Well, so does Texas.
Yeah.
I mean, you know whether they're in the. I guess, but you get far enough north in Texas, you know you're not going to run into alligators.
You know.
Yeah.
That's when you risk it because you know and then you don't.
Don't
know.
worry, you'll be totally fine.
You know until you don't know.
Exactly. This last topic, I have absolutely no notes on. I just wanted to discuss it, and I just wanted to break it down.
Open forum.
Open forum. Okay. So, AJ, I know you don't do a lot of duck hunting, so I'll kind of break this down for you.
Okay.
Ducks migrate from north to south, obviously. And there's different flyways where they're more consistent and they're bigger groupings, and they like to fly in groups. And they migrate as their summer grounds in the north is where they do all their eating and living in their summer grounds, Canada, all the way up there, north.
Mm-hmm.
As that gets cold, they get pushed down farther and farther and farther. Now, once they get pushed all the way down to where they're going to be. Now, in their summer ground, by the way, is where they have their babies. So that's where they do all their nesting. So they do all their nesting there. The babies are born. They normally become full grown. Depending on where it is, you're looking at May and June is when they're born. And then they're full grown by October, if you can believe that. They're adults. It's very strange to me. But at that point, they start to make their migration down because everything starts to freeze over. The water starts to freeze over. They can tolerate really cold water. So normally they won't leave until it's frozen. However, there's the species kind of move in, they move at different paces. So different species tend to migrate earlier and so on and so forth. So the earliest one that everybody seems to know, and it dictates different seasons often, is the teal. So the teal is the smaller of the duck species. Not a ton of meat on them. Flavor-wise, I'd give them a 7 or 8 out of 10. I think they're pretty good. I think I used to label them a 9, but so many people told me that they didn't taste good that I'm saying 8, but I think I still mean 9.
Okay.
I've always thought they were pretty good. I didn't think people call them like skunky and stuff.
Like anything else, it's all in how you prepare them.
So there's small guys. I bet a lot of people just overcook teal because they're so small. So you get
Probably.
yeah. So I mean, the meat you get out of them it isn't much more than you get off of a dove. I mean, they're small.
Oh,
they're small. Yeah, small wise, but they're good eating, and they're a prominent duck that Jeff and I have killed our whole life. Mm-hmm. So a lot of states and now Michigan have an early season for them. And the early season will normally be 7 days. It might be 14 days. Just depends on where you are. I believe in Michigan it's something like 7 or 10 days.
I think so, yeah.
So, and it's much earlier than the regular duck season. It's normally September 1st through the 7th or the 10th or the 15th or somewhere in their ballpark. They can change it in a year, so they release the numbers. That reminds me, we got to get in the duck draw.
We do. Got until the 28th.
Okay. So, AJ can't wait for us to not get picked for the managed waterfowl areas in here.
Pick a Snickle Fritz spot because we didn't get a draw, and then we're out there. It's raining. We don't know where we're going. We're in the dark. He's like, "What? We do this every year. Why are we doing this?"
We know better. So anyhow,
he's gonna get the flu this year.
He's like, "I don't."
Man, I'm sick.
Ryan's got it. But anyhow, so these birds migrate first. So because of that dictates normally an earlier season for them because a lot of the migration would go by. So when, like here where we're at, it's normally the second Saturday in October is when our opening day is in the South Zone of Michigan. A lot of the teal have already gone through, so you didn't get to hunt them. So, opening day, you see a lot of teal normally, in early October. That's like early October. A lot of
flock of teal, low.
A lot of teal. They look like little blue fighter jets. They move so fast, so quick. They're so hard.
Yeah. And the whole group too is like.
Yeah, they're on pace together. Fascinating bird. Yeah. And then normally we shoot wood ducks early as well. And then later on in the season, you start to see more mallards and then more diver ducks, which is your redheads and your spoonies and stuff like that. So that being said, the early season, so breaking that down, there's people on both sides of the aisle that argue this point. Should there be an early season for them? Now, here are the cons that a lot of people say no, because obviously I've given a good case for why you would have them, right?
Clearly.
So the cons are this. They believe that a lot of people will make poor bird identifications. So a fast-flying bird is hard to identify. To me, a teal is one of the easier ones to identify. but birds are hard to identify when flying. I remember when I first started duck hunting and I would see flocks and flocks of birds and be like, oh, people I was with that knew what they were doing. Like, that's a bluebill, that's a this, that's a... I'm like...
You're going, that's a duck. I think that one's a duck. That one, is that a duck?
Yeah. And that's how it is when you first start. And now you get used to how their wings flap. You pick up the colors, the subtleties of how they move, and you start to learn their behaviors. And like I said, teal tend to move in groups and, these different things. So your identification becomes a lot better. But a lot of people aren't. So the worry was, especially for wood ducks that are here early, that there'd be a lot of wood ducks killed early that aren't supposed to be.
And then you've got resident ducks, too, that just stay here because they have access to a food source for the majority of the year.
Sure.
Some don't migrate as much.
So, and then that being said, too, is another con is the managed waterfowl areas, for instance. So when we didn't have the early teal season, when you would go to a managed waterfowl area where you would get in a duck draw to get a zone, these are normally the best areas in Michigan we're talking about. I think there's 7 of them. The wetland wonders, you go to these different areas, and it's the best duck hunting ever. You get in a lottery draw, you get a zone, and you get to go out and hunt that area. Opening day, it was magical because those birds had never been shot at. Because the young of the year, you got a mom and a dad, and then you got the young, which might be like 7, 5, just depends on the clutch. But I don't know, 2/3 of the birds that are going to be there have never seen a duck hunter before, have never seen a decoy before, and it's opening day is like a shooting gallery of heaven.
And the ones that have, it was a year ago. They don't have that.
Yeah, they haven't been pressured recently.
They don't have the memory to like, oh no, gotta stay away from that because I remember that.
So that's the benefit of opening day. I have noticed greatly that with the teal season now, that opening day gorgeousness is gone away. The numbers aren't the same on opening day.
You've noticed?
Substantially. So the change in the bird's behavior, the education, those things changed. And on top of that, there's a youth season that's before the regular opener now, which that's always kind of been the case, but hasn't been used as much. But between the youth season shooting at them, and they open, I believe, the managed waterfowl area for the youth season, and they open it for the teal season, all these zones are getting pressured, all the shooting that goes on. Wood ducks especially will not stick around for any BS. As soon as you start shooting in the area, they're gone. See ya. Yeah. I'm gone. They have zero tolerance for that. So from a temperament standpoint, obviously, like if you go shoot a pond up and come back 2 weeks later, yes, there could be wood ducks there, but I'm saying like normally their behavior tends to be like, see ya.
You're not going to sit there and watch them come back.
And if you don't believe me, or if you're one of the expert hunters that want to argue with me, go hunt opening day and then go hunt the second day and tell me if you can tell the difference, and I bet you will be able to. You know what I mean? It's that clear. So I guess what I wanted to discuss was, like, I saw people online arguing about whether there should be an early teal season or not. Obviously, I'm an advocate. Anytime, the more time you can spend in the field, the more time you can go hunt. I want to go. You know what I mean? I want to go.
Potentially selling more licenses is good.
I don't know that they would. I think the people that buy the duck license would anyhow. But I think it kind of, it's almost like opening a couple Christmas gifts early.
Yeah. Well put.
You know what I mean? Like I like the idea of opening it. I get, it's that excitement of getting them all at once. And granted, though the opportunity cost of not having it is having a lot of the ducks migrate through that you didn't get a crack at. So there's that point too. I'm a little undecided on it. I guess I would just like it to be based on the science. So when they first did this season, they said we're doing a trial. I think it was a 2-year period. Don't quote me on that, but I think it was 2 years. And they said we're going to see what the wood duck numbers do after 2 seasons based on this early teal season. Meaning, we'll see if you idiots can see what you're shooting at.
Negatively impacts them. Yeah.
And it didn't really. So they kept the season going. So that being said, it is rolling. I'm okay with it. But I like opening day doesn't have the same excitement. But it is cool I get to hunt earlier. Yeah. A lot of mosquitoes September 1st, though, I'll tell you that right now. Yeah. And those swamps. Oof.
You know what would be cool, kind of cool to see is do the early season, and anyone can go. But you have to bring someone under the age of 18. So you're almost doing a youth hunt, but you can hunt also as long as you're bringing somebody getting them into it from a younger age.
What do you think the benefits are?
Getting someone into it from a younger age, and you get to hunt. You get to go enjoy it. Just bring someone with you, so you're integrating them. You're integrating them into this experience. Because I bet you would see a lot more kids out there if you did a youth hunt that was allowed the adult to also hunt.
Yeah, you like see guys with white vans and candy to like, hey kid, you want to go hunting?
Oh yeah.
I mean, yeah.
We need you today.
There's just more incentive to do a youth hunt and actually bring kids. Otherwise, if it's just a youth hunt, you have a lot of dads out there who are like, I don't really care. They don't want to do it that much. I don't care if they don't want to.
Right. Yeah.
But if they have the opportunity also to, they're going to be like, let's both go do this because this is going to be fun for both of us.
Right.
And you don't have as much pressure because not everyone's going to be able to bring a kid.
You're proposing for the early teal season an expansion of the youth season.
Yeah. It's like the middle ground of you have youth season and just regular season, but then you have this middle ground where you can both enjoy it as long as you're both there.
Right.
Well, ever since we've been filming or trying to film the duck episodes, the popularity has never been higher. It breaks the prior year's attendance.
Yeah.
So would the early season add to those numbers, or with it being so popular right now, quote unquote, are those early season numbers?
Well, the early season's been in effect for the last 3 years. So what you've seen on the opening day of the regular season with the numbers growing, I think would just equate to COVID, getting more people outdoors, and we're seeing an increase in duck hunters in Michigan. We are. Any way you cut it. I mean, it's overall,
well, you said that you've never not been drawn until we started trying.
Right. Well, that's filming luck. We know how that goes.
Well, and on top of that, I think it was also that more people have discovered where we go when we don't get one of the ticket draws.
I'll tell you though, the ticket draws are the perfect. If you want to have your thumb on the numbers from new people getting into hunting, the draws are the place to go for it, because the biggest problem a duck hunter has when he first starts is, well, where do I go? 100%, that's the biggest problem. So by having the opportunity to say, okay, where do I go? Oh, this managed waterfowl area, you just go there and get in a lottery, and they'll give you a zone, and you just go there, and there's probably going to be ducks. Mm-hmm. That's like gold to them. So I think there's more people getting into hunting that don't know where to go, so they go to the managed waterfowl draws. I think that's a genuine thing in Michigan.
Especially in last year, there has been a marked increase in hunters in Michigan during COVID because you can't do the normal activities you like. So that's available to you. So now I'm going to go fishing because that's all I can do. It's either that or sit inside.
But when you think about it, then, I mean, by this, I got to look it up. I don't know what the numbers are, but we have to look up and see what the seasons are this year for duck hunting, because I'd be...
Even before COVID, though, there was more people than there were spots.
Correct. Yeah, and it wasn't always that way. I remember going to opening day to Point Mouillet, the managed waterfowl area there, and when I would go there, they would have it. Some lotteries have lotteries to get in the lottery. So on opening day, so you have to win a lottery spot in order to be guaranteed a lottery spot at a managed waterfowl area. Point Mouillet was kind of like the best kept secret, where it didn't have that. But it only has like 20 zones, but there was always like 20 parties on opening day. And then during the rest of the season, there might be 12. Last year, there was like 44. Yeah. So it was like, it just keeps getting more. So half the people that go there won't get a spot on opening day. So then it's like, oh, I don't want to do that then. I don't want to go there.
Do all the prep and not even get to go.
Yeah. Well, that's our life always. So yeah,
that's all I know.
It's funny, when we didn't film, I got drawn twice on opening day. Spot one. First.
Yep. We've been picked more almost last, which is a shame, because if you get last, you get a mug or a cup or whatever.
Yeah.
We've consistently been drawn like second to last.
Well,
it's the worst.
One time we did get drawn last, and that was the first year they stopped doing the prizes.
I'll never forget that. I go to AJ, we're filming, and he's got the camera on me and stuff, but I'm kind of like talking to him kind of like, once in a while, we talk to the cameras on the main TV show. So I was like talking to him and kind of talking to the camera, and they're going through the numbers, and I go, well, now we got to just hope we're last, because then we'll at least get a mug. And they were like nice stainless steel mugs. Yeah. And then AJ, I remember him chuckling at it. So then they like go through, and sure enough, out of the 40 parties there or whatever it was, we were dead last. And I walk up on camera,
Proud.
and I go, well, at least we get a mug. And the guy goes, oh, we stopped doing the mugs this year. And AJ just lost.
If there was a table, he would have flipped it.
AJ just lost it. But
4:30 in the morning.
hopefully we'll still be able to pull it off. But we'll see what happens.
Did we try going last year?
No, we went to Pete's instead. Shot one wood duck. So now
Oh, that's right.
because now I refuse to go. See, if we win, let's say we put in at Harson's Island, and we can put in for all of us. Let's say at Harson's Island we get drawn for the draw. That means that they only allow like 60 groups out there, and they have 120 spots. So if we get pulled for that, then we will go. But I'm never stepping foot in a draw again where we don't have a guaranteed spot.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thank God.
It's
like
kind of
that.
funny because you guys are always like really amped about different hunting trips we go on, and when it comes to like managed waterfowl draws, everyone just, I hate you, Kyle.
It's the worst.
It's got so much nostalgia though for us. Is like waking up. Jeffrey and I love it.
See, the thing is,
We need
Who
electric.
doesn't love getting it up at 3 a.m?
Getting pulled over.
see, I lost.
We had some rough trips. Okay.
That's where I lost the magic, was when we went and made it most of the way there, and we were going to get there like 10 minutes early, and instead we had to turn around because you left your truck and your parents' part in the driveway, and we had to go back because you blocked your dad and he had to go to work. So we're rushing to get back in order to rush to get there in the hopes that we can do it in 40 minutes, which isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
And people were already there. We had put money into this trip already. It was a bad time. And I was like, I could be sleeping right now.
And this is all like before 4 a.m. Gotta love it.
Nothing was like when Jeff put us up in that hotel, though.
I'll never forget that.
Four duck hunt.
So I let
Dude.
the
Crack hotel.
one time I let Jeff be in charge of like, I'm like, because we're dealing with all these different things, and I'm filming with the people the day before the draw, and I was like, Jeff, will you put AJ, just get a hotel for AJ and Ryan so that they can stay somewhere close,
Yeah.
and they don't have to drive back and forth, because we can just stay with our parents because they live close.
Well,
So-
the funny thing is like I'm looking for a place. I find a place that's relatively close. I pick the highest rated place that's that close.
No,
And
you didn't.
that was the one.
No.
So
No,
he
that's not what happened.
books it, and it's like $139 a night, and then
it was
there,
65.
God, Jeff.
I didn't do hotels very often, so I didn't, like
One
what's
look
a
at this
good
place,
price?
and you would have known that you would never want to step. You wouldn't even want to look at the place.
So then Jeff goes, or
Well, then
one
I'll
of
put
you,
that
one
picture
of
online.
one of you said to me, you're like, I'm going somewhere else. So
Yeah.
I don't, and
we got to the hotel, and me and AJ walk in, and we're like looking at this place. One, it smells awful. It smells like cigarettes and cats.
and shame.
And divorce.
And it smells like,
Yeah. Oh, this is a place that charges by the hour or by the
Oh,
week or by the
no.
month.
First of all, you're leaving out the fact that for 50 cents your bed can vibrate, and you're taking that. You're just ignoring that fact.
Yeah.
Okay, so first, the place was disgusting. 2, I'm not kidding you. I have pictures of it if I can find them.
Oh, that's
There
right.
were holes in the wall. That were, I have to imagine it's bullets. I'm not even kidding you. I'm not kidding
There's
you.
8 of them. They're about this big.
Out in Taylor.
They went from the room next door into our room. And so I walk out of our room because it's like a motel setup, so you get to it from outside. I go over to the other room. The other room is padlocked shut.
That's
So you have
right.
to imagine
That's
a
right.
crime took place.
What led to that? So anyhow, for another $10 a night,
Yeah.
you guys booked another hotel that wasn't. I didn't.
It was 50 yards away, right next door, and it was
Really?
nice.
The
It
Best,
was it
Best
was
Western. It was a good one.
it was a great hotel. Yeah, it was awesome.
Too bad they don't have breakfast at 3:30 a.m. But it was nice.
Right.
We had brought all our stuff in. I was like, I'm not doing this, and I brought all my stuff back out to my car, and I was gonna sleep in the car.
Yep.
I
And then the lady at the desk was like, "Yeah, it's not for everybody."
she literally
no
said that.
kidding.
She knew. She knew.
She was talking the place down.
It's condemned. It's for no one.
She's like, would she rather have you just leave now than have to deal with you later?
Exactly.
On that note, I'd like to thank you for tuning in to episode 68 of the Greenway Outdoors podcast. You know, we do have a regular TV show as well. Check it out. It is on Sportsman Channel, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Saturday night. So check it out. It's a good Saturday night, date night, fun thing to do.
Set your DVR.
Yeah, just set your DVR. You can watch it that way. You You don't gotta make it. Your
We still
date
get the
night.
numbers, so
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
fine.
As long as they watch it within 6 days of setting the DVR.
Right.
So make sure you do watch the show. Then also we have our Huntcast and Quick Trips secondary TV show on Carbon TV, as well as our YouTube channel. We also have a library of how-to videos, and they just keep getting better and better. They're really exciting. We just had a new one come out that's about how to shell a crab, but it's Dungeness crabs, and there's some really funny facts in there as well.
It pretty much applies to any crab, from my understanding, too.
Yep.
So
check out our how-to video series on YouTube as well. And then last but not least, check out our merch, the greenwayoutdoors.store. And thanks so much for tuning in. We will see you next week. Greenway Outdoors Podcast. Stay green.